Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my show, CXO Crucible, which is all about the crucible moments of some very senior and accomplished CEOs and top management and CXOs across a wide variety of sectors and industries. So today we have Mr. Raviganesh, who is the CEO of Cloudnine Group of Hospitals. So prior to Cloudnine, he was with Metro Cash and Carry as a member of the executive board for several years, and he was director expansion and vice president strategy for Asia. That was a pretty long stint with the Metro. And before that, he was the chief operating officer and business head with direct to home business with the Bharti Airtel. And he was also, the area general manager with Coca-Cola India, and earlier he was manager materials with Titan Industries. So as you can see, Ravi brings a wide exposure to several industries and most of the functional areas. And what's unique about Ravi, I've known him for pretty long now, is a rare combination of a strategist who has excellence in operations. So he's got that combination, and he's made that work for himself across different assignments across several decades. Welcome, Ravi, to the show.
Thanks, Ramesh. Pleasure being here.
You know that this show is all about your crucible moment. So I want to kind of, take you back to your stint with Bharti Airtel, where you were the chief operating officer in charge of South India.
Thanks, Ramesh. I think that is a very interesting, phase in my career wherein, it was actually continuing with sequential successful operations careers that I was actually having. I was given a meaty assignment of being the chief operating officer of one of the largest circles in India, which was Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Chennai. So three licenses, and by far one of the biggest businesses within the Airtel portfolio. I was doing exceptionally well. I think career trajectory was all in the right place. There was only one hitch, and that hitch actually came in from a personal angle. When this shift from DTH to being a circle CEO happened, I had to make a shift from Bangalore into Chennai. And unfortunately, my daughter at that time was at a stage wherein her health was not in great condition, and my family couldn't join me there. I went back to the organization and also said that is there a possibility for me to move to Bangalore, which they kind of agreed, but they said it would take time, and for right reasons, because already the positions here were filled. So I had to take the hard call of actually moving out of Bharti Airtel, and I took a call to move to Bangalore to Metro Cash and Carry in a very different role, and that role was a head of strategy. So from being an operating head, I moved to a strategy head, and a role which I had never done before.
So what were the thoughts which were running in your mind
So
when you moved from the thick of operations, a very meaty thing, to strategy, which is a different kettle of fish? Yeah.
So several ones. I mean, there were a lot of self doubts which were plaguing itself because, see, Airtel was a very profitable, successful organization. Metro at that time was still a loss-making, yet to establish setup. It had just 6 stores at the time in India. It was a question mark in its own way. When you're a chief operating officer of a large telecom company, well, you run an extremely large operation with a huge workforce. Your intent becomes virtually a directive which becomes action. It's very straightforward in that sense.
Intent becomes a directive. Okay.
Right. It's you have the power in your hands. From there, when I moved to Metro, the first thing which hit me was the fact that from having 10 direct reports, I was reduced to one management trainee under me.
Okay.
Okay. The second thing which happened was the function didn't exist. So in that sense, the function had been brought in by the managing director in Metro to help shape the company up. And therefore, from being a very important person through whom all business decisions would kind of flow, you suddenly become a person who needs to kind of come and carve a space out for himself. And you need to justify why you exist.
So how did you kind of, adjust to this new situation?
See, I think it was very tough. I think the initial parts I would, kind of question myself several times, saying that have I made this right call? The only thing which would, kind of keep me going is the fact that my daughter smiles a lot more now than what she was before. And I said, okay, maybe this is all worth it. I need to kind of rediscover myself. It also meant that I had to learn things. I think the first thing which I had to shed was the fact that what I would say or my ideas would not automatically fly. I would need to kind of build a very strong justification for them. Let data do my fighting.
Yeah. So Ravi, I'm sure that your colleagues at Metro must have had much more retail experience
Yes.
vis-a-vis you. So how did that affect? How did that play?
No, absolutely. I think, see, I was basically having to work with a board, a management board, which was there, which had a mix of a significant amount of expatriates who had all got more than 2 decades of very strong retail exposure, as well as were veterans in Metro itself. So, which also meant that there was a set way in which they had kind of, learned doing business. And here I was with nothing to show for either my strategy role or for my retail understanding to come and start shaping the entire journey. So I think when I started off, I said that, okay, if I have to succeed over here, I will need to put my nose to the grinding wheel and shed all the kind of inhibitions which I have.
So Ravi, tell me, why do you think a person at that point like you, without retail experience, without strategy experience, why do you think you were put into that role? What advantages, if any, did you have?
See, I think the biggest advantage was something which actually is the antithesis of exactly what this is. That I had operating experience. When you kind of flip it around, how do you sell a strategy to an operator? It makes that part of the understanding a lot better. Plus, I think in retail, which is a very operation intensive role, most good strategies fail because of the fact that the operations part is not very well thought through. And if you, in that intense operations part, if the strategy
Right.
and operations are not linked right, it won't work well. The other important part was that the MD who recruited me, Mr. Rajiv
Mm,
Bakshi, he trusted me.
mm,
I think he
mm,
placed a bet, and I
mm.
said that, look, if he's placing a bet, I should kind of come good on this one.
So, wow, that's a great insight because the trust that somebody places on you, and you may have similarly placed your trust on people at different points of time, that seems to play a big role. Yeah. So, how did this role therefore pan out? Okay, what were some of the feathers in your cap as a result of this transition?
So one of the biggest learnings which came out of that whole bit was, see, it started improving the way I would actually present my thinking. I think the
Mm,
fact that now you don't need to think for yourself, but you need to think for somebody on the board to understand your thinking the right way. That mattered a lot, which basically meant that you couldn't start with a platform, but you need to go from a zero base. The second thing is using data as a very strong ally. See, operators often use experience and a certain amount of gut feel and judgment to kind of drive a lot of stuff because they've been there, seen it. But when you have to present something as a strategist, you need to kind of not just say it because you are where you are. You have to kind of back it up with structure and data. And I think the most important part for me was being able to kind of think business, putting customer at the center.
right. So, Ravi, so far you have spoken about the kind of accomplishments and how you did it. What were some of the biggest struggles you faced in this role?
I think the biggest struggle was actually internal because there would be a daily frustration sometimes wherein you see something as being obvious, but you don't see the others seeing it as being obvious. And the operator in you wakes up and says, push this damn thing through.
Mm,
And then you have to say, hey, hello, that's not the way. We need to kind
mm,
of get there by, and then go
mm.
back and take data, build it up step by step. Start with a suboptimal kind of agreement,
Okay, what does that mean?
which basically means that you'll never get a full agreement on what you want to do, but at least take
Right,
what you get, build
right,
on that. So
right.
have a few victories, then go back and move the bar. So it's a slow, painstaking process. It
Mm,
requires you to have a lot of commitment to the job and to yourself. And more importantly, it helps if you have somebody who kind of backs you apart. I think I had that with me.
You see, when there is success, Ravi, as they say, there are many fathers, and mothers. And the strategies would always kind of saying, we all want, we are hungry for success and recognition. So it's tempting to say that predominantly because of this strategic thinking or these initiatives that we did it. And then there are the people, operators, as you call them, the executioners, who also say that, we did it kind of thing. So what's the balance here? And how does one play this game such that everybody wins?
See, in my view, the winners always have to be the operators. Okay,
Okay.
so see, the strategy is just in very many ways is like a coach. Okay,
Mm,
when the team wins, it's always the captain and the team. You're outside, you will be cheering them on, and you will get credit, but you will never get credit as much as the people who actually went there and won it. Because important part is that when they win, they will play
mm,
the next game well. And strategy is a continuous series of games, and the next
mm,
time round you need their buy-in. So
mm.
I think, see, heart and heart, the organization will always see where the ideas flew in from. It is impossible to hide that. But you don't need to thump the table and say that was mine.
So what happened after you came out of this experience in the metro? So what changed for you, Ravi?
So I think one is that absence of very structured strategic thinking, which was missing as in my portfolio, that got really very sharpened and evolved. From being a person who would run meetings saying that only powerful points, no PowerPoint, I became a person who could deliver PowerPoints like a McKinsey guy. So I developed a new skill, and that skill even till date helps me in whatever is my job. Got me a very good balance between how an organization needs to kind of have both thinkers, doers, and how does that balance come, and how do you run something like a project. And I think it all basically prepared me for the next stages in my life, wherein in my job I would have equal measures of both strategy and operations. I think all in all it rounded me off well. And I think
Okay.
more importantly, it gave me two important learnings which I carry with my life. Somebody bet on me, I bet on a lot of others after that. So that's a big takeaway for me. And the other big one was that we all have our, as I said earlier, we have inner talents, we have capabilities. It all takes somebody to spark that off, and then big changes, big shifts are all possible. You just need somebody to motivate you, and also take the responsibility of motivating yourself.
Lovely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more on this point. So everybody is happy. So how's your daughter feeling after all this?
Oh, my daughter, of course, was thrilled. I mean, now, of course, the cycle has changed. It is time for her to fly off the nest.
Okay, okay, great, Ravi. So it's so nice talking to you and to receive all the, let's call it, the lived wisdom through your experiences. Thank you so much, Ravi, and thank you, audience, for joining us again today. I look forward to bringing more such interesting conversations to you in the following weeks and months. Thank you.